And this afternoon, the West Africa Examination Council says it has identified widespread malpractices in the ongoing West Africa Senior High School Certificate examinations. The council says that malpractices are so much that it is unable to actually get the exact numbers immediately, but confirms that students, teachers and supervisors have all been indicted in the process. Well, John Kapi is the head of public affairs at WAEC, and he's been speaking on some of these issues.
This character has been arrested, and then he's been handed over to the police. He decided to bribe WAEC officials because his students are writing exams at Sunyani St. Mary's Junior High School. In the name of the school, he is the board chairman at St. Clair's Donoman Senior High School. It's a private school actually, but yes.
So at St. Benedict, you can see they have this long hall, and for maybe about each 50 candidates, there is a whiteboard marker there. There's a whiteboard there, and what has been happening is, in the course of the exam, an official will come and produce the responses on the board for the students or the candidates to copy. So with this one, our officers intercepted this, and money taken from candidates. So you can see on the left-hand side the serial number of the candidate, and then attached to it the amount the candidate has paid. So for instance, you can see row 13. It's the same thing. So row 26 or room 26, candidate 751. He has paid 300 now to 400. 752, he has managed to pay 100. 753, 200. And it goes on like that. So it's the same school.
Listen to the woman. You came to pay.
To pay receipt. You came and paid the net to pay receipt.
They gave you a receipt. 500 cedis. To the headmaster or Bruce.
The teachers. Small teachers.
Sir Bruce.
Sir Timothy.
Sir Timothy.
And Sir I didn't pay it once. I paid half the
pay it in bits.
Yeah, I paid 200 from Sir Timothy. Then I came and paid 200 for Sir.
Sir, so where the receipt? It's in the house. Where do you live? Where do you live?
I live with just name, closer to the police station.
What's your name?
You come here.
What?
Okay, so the pieces of evidence that WAEC is relying on to put out that public statement indicating that it is becoming overwhelming when it comes to matters relating to exam malpractice. So what's the council seeking to do about this? Joining us via Zoom now is John Kapi, the Director of Public Affairs for the West Africa Examination Council, joining us now. Thank you, sir, for spending some time with us. Dr. Peter Antipati is an educationist as well with the Institute for Education Studies. IFES joining us also in this conversation. So let's start off with you, John Kapi, since you addressed the press and of course your council has outlined some of the challenges you're having with the exam. This is not the first time, obviously, and we must state that on record. But how bad is the situation as we speak?
Thank you and good afternoon to your listeners. I think that basically the trend is getting a little more complicated and it's more widespread than it used to be. There are a lot more schools involved and a lot more teachers and candidates who are desperate to assist each other in this exercise. The extent to which this is bad is the fact that we have evidence of monies having been collected from these candidates, ranging between 500 cedis and 1,000 cedis, with the promise to assist them in the examination hall. And so this is a trend that the level of malpractice has taken.
And we know that you're built to take some action on the ones that you've uncovered. Let's talk about these institutions and what you actually intend to do with them.
Well, for the institutions, we have earmarked scrutiny of their scripts. That is to say, when the marking is done, we'd want to do further scrutiny to ascertain the level of irregularity that they have. We also look at their location, and if it is possible to move the center from where it is to a safer location, we will do that. And for some of them, if, for example, for the private schools, we may choose to recognize them if the evidence pointing to irregularity is overwhelming.
And when it comes to, the authorities, obviously Ghana Education Service will come into the picture. The Ministry of Education will come into the picture. What's the level of collaboration taking place now? Just to nip this in the bud, to put an end to it, by the way.
Right. So we are supposed to work directly in collaboration with the Ghana Education Service because the teachers in the field are supposed to be employees of the Ghana Education Service. We have so far reported these cases to the Director General Ghana Education Service, so they are very much aware. We are compiling a list of examination officials, teachers, supervisors who are in the employment of the Ghana Education Service, and this list will be handed over to them, and we expect that they will take disciplinary action against these teachers.
Dr. Anti, the point about finding a lasting solution to this whole issue of exam malpractice. I recall that at some point the Ministry of Education, it was WAEC actually, indicating to us that as part of the security features, cameras might be introduced into the examination hall. Lots of consideration, and yet all we see year by year is that cases of malpractice will still happen. How do we safeguard the integrity of the exercise?
Thank you very much, and good afternoon to your viewers. I'm not surprised because I felt that the focus of WAEC and most of us, even in the education space, have been to deal with pre-examination malpractices. So we were so much focused on the leakage of papers. That is why over the years you see us talk a lot more about this paper has leaked, and so on and so forth. And WAEC has taken steps to try to minimize that particular malpractice. But what we forgot, or what we did not pay much attention to, was the fact that there is also during exams malpractice, which happens within the examination center. And this is very prevalent, especially when it's got to do with marketability of a school, the bragging right of a school, and so on and so forth. Teachers, students, school authorities want the schools, the students to pass so that they can use that, especially with the private schools, to boost their rankings in the country. And that is what we are experiencing now. How do we deal with this? I think that there can be so many ways that we can look at it. That's my friend there from WAEC is talking about. But first and foremost, I think that we need a broader policy-wise directive in terms of this kind of malpractices that has been happening. And we have said a long time that we should look at the value of the certificates that we issue at the end of SSS education. And I say this because there's a lot of pressure on it. I've said that when students complete school and they cannot progress in their life in terms of everything, whether they are entering the world of work or they are entering any kind of education, they cannot progress because they couldn't pass a particular subject. This kind of pressure will come on the certificate. So we need a broader policy directive on how do we separate the fact that somebody has completed 14 years of education in Ghana. And I say 14 years of education because I'm talking about from KG or even class 1 up to SHS 3, and that is 14 years. And the only way that a person can progress in life is the ability of that particular student to pass the WASSCE examination. That is very, very problematic. And I think that we need to address that challenge. When you're able to water down the value of the certificate in terms of the ability of the student to progress after he or she has written this particular exams. I think we will be able to deal with some of these things, and then add all the other suggestions and ideas that have come into play to ensure that the practice is minimized. But for me, the first thing we need to do, which is a broader policy thing, and it's even beyond WAEC, is to ensure that there should be something to note that someone has finished his education, at least a pre-tertiary education in Ghana, and then the WAEC examination can also be the WAEC certificate can also be issued to a student who wants to pursue further studies. That would water down the pressure on this particular certificate that the students are getting. Because if you sit for WASSCE and you don't pass, you have to sit for remedials till you pass before you can progress. No employer will pick you or employ you. At the same time, you cannot enter any tertiary institution in Ghana. So everybody would want to pass. Parents would want their wards to pass. Teachers would want their students to pass. And students themselves want to pass because they don't want to feel stagnant in their life, and that is what is causing this.
John Kapi, what are the common forms of malpractices that you've uncovered this year? Are they different from the traits that you keep finding from the previous years? Because the reason for which I'm asking this is that the indication from the press conference is at least one school has as many as 8 mobile phones seized. These are some of the reports we are hearing of. So what forms are these malpractices taking this time around?
Yeah, so as Doc indicated, there are people who want to have bragging rights, and so they would want to market their schools. In one school, that's a private school, for example, we picked 86 phones just at one sitting.
Not 80. 86, yeah.
86, yeah. Now, so the trend now is that the websites that used to post question papers before the commencement of the examinations are not able to do so because they don't have access to anything. Now, per our reports from our investigators, it's that they are asking the candidates now to go in with their phones so that post-opening of the parcels, snapshots will be taken, and then answers will be prepared and sent to them by whatever means that they can. Basically, WhatsApp and then the Telegram pages, So snapshots being taken, sent out, answers prepared, and sent back to the candidates by WhatsApp. There are also these situations where there are photocopies of prepared answers. Where some of the pictures we showed today indicate we were counting the number of photocopies made by one teacher that he intended to distribute across to the candidates of his institution.
I see. Okay, now the issue about the schools themselves and how you deal with them. Have you mapped out the plan yet? Have you made any arrests yet?
Yeah, for arrests, yes, we've made arrests. A number of teachers have been arrested across the country. We've not put out the figures yet because as virtually every day new reports are coming, new cases are coming. We also have had some impersonators, and the teachers who are collaborating with these impersonators, they also have been arrested. With the private schools where we have appointed supervisors, we've suspended those supervisors and we've handed them over to the police for appropriate action to be taken.
Probably the problem, it's also coming from the approach and the psyche of the students going into this examination. Very often, WAEC is seen as, I don't know how to describe that, but you've been there, you've been in that situation before when they talk about an external examiner coming in with papers at the end of your academic journey. It's part of the anxiety and the reason for which some of these students would want to opt for any option that will ease the pressure when it comes to writing WASSCE. You agree?
Right. Basically, yes, it's a new thing to a lot of people that they are going to an examination that is not set by their own teachers. The environment is different. You are going to be spaced out in a hall, and those scripts are not going to be marked by your teacher. Psychologically, of course, this could affect some of the candidates. What we've tried to do over the years has been to do what we call sensitization. We go out there and speak with the candidates. We tell them what they can do, what they cannot do, how they can prepare themselves adequately for the examination. And we stress that whatever they've been taught in class, whatever they've been assessed on, is virtually the same thing that we are going to bring out. Just that this time around is a body that has, set these questions and not their teachers in the classroom. So yes, the anxiety may be there, the desire to pass will be there, but I think that we've also tried to allay the fears of these candidates that this is not rocket science. It is possible for everyone to pass the examination.
Doc, on that point, are teachers contributing to this fear and anxiety on the part of students?
I think the work of the teacher is basically to assist the students go through the anxiety period. Of course, examination is something that all of us, no matter your level, when you are going to sit for exams, you experience certain kinds of anxiety. But then you ask yourself, where is the anxiety coming from? Anxiety is coming from the fact that the student knows that if he does not pass the exams, that is the end of him or her.
Yeah.
And that is the point, you see. So everybody would want to find various means to ensure that they pass. Teachers are supposed to water down the anxiety. Teachers are supposed to encourage the students. Teachers are supposed to let them know that this is one of the normal exercises that they are supposed to go through in their lives. But when the student still feels that I am not adequately prepared, when the student feels that if he is not able to or she is not able to pass the exams, the end result is a doom for him, then every means possible would be employed to pass the exams. And that is why I keep saying that we need a broader policy to look at how we issue this certificate and handle this examination, so that I can do 14 years of education and then I get something to show that I've finished senior high school or pre-tertiary education in Ghana. Then I write my WASSCE, and if I want to continue to a tertiary institution, then I use my WASSCE to continue to the tertiary institution. Those who would want to enter the world of work or other areas, they can use the certificates that indicates that they have done some sort of education to do that. That is very, very important, and I think that will water down the anxiety and the malpractices that we are experiencing, because it is serious. And I'm glad that this time around, WAEC is being open about this issue and they are discussing it.
John Kabi, any final words to parents who may be wondering if the awards and their papers might be cancelled?
Well, we've appealed to parents to psych up their children about this examination. There shouldn't be any anxiety on the part of parents if their children have been psyched up well enough. And want to also appeal to parents not to be collaborators. We have evidence of situations where some of the parents have attempted to assist their children, especially even at the BEC, by providing them with phones to go to examination centers. So we want to appeal to parents, prepare your child adequately with the appropriate teachers, appropriate books and everything, and then encourage them. Tell them it is possible to do it. Life does not come easy for anybody. We've got to work for it.
Okay, that's a very interesting point for all of us to note. John Kapi, thank you for joining us. But Dr. Anti, you'd want to stay on with us because it's now emerging that illiteracy is actually weighing heavily on Ghana's development, as new data from the Ghana Statistical Service shows that at least 8 million Ghanaians are illiterate. It does mean that 1 in every 4 Ghanaian you meet out there on the streets is not literate. The details are actually contained in new data released by the Statistical Service on the occasion of the World Literacy Day. But there's a need for us to understand what's going into the figures, what's informing this, and possibly why we're where we are today. So we could possibly get to the data for you and try and give you a sense of what's happening in terms of the national picture on the day of literacy. So here you have it in terms of what's happening and what you need to know. In terms of the numbers, we need to give you a sense of what's happening to the numbers. 8 million in all, as we understand, per this data coming through from the Ghana Statistical Service. And today it's been dedicated to the fact that we're looking at promoting literacy for the world in transition and building the foundation for sustainable and peaceful societies. So if you take a look at Ghana's situation, 8 million people, in the illiteracy bracket, and these individuals can neither read nor write in any language at all. So even in their local dialects, they are not able to express themselves on maybe paper, and talk less of English language as well. So if you take 4 persons, we know that at least one of them is likely here in Ghana to fall within that illiterate bracket. You take a look at the trend, 10% of illiterates concentrated in 9 districts in Ghana. As you take a look at it, just look at some of the districts that we're pointing to you. You have the Tamale Metropolis, you have the Nanumba Northeast, Mamprosi is also there, some parts, mostly in the northern parts of the country, and then you have Central Gonja also coming through. Ketu South municipality is also on that list, and you have Boko West featuring there as to some of the areas accounting for that trend. So 9 out of 16 regions in Ghana had at least one district with more than half of its population being literate. And so you have the regional distribution of what's happening there. The northern region leading, Upper West follows through, and it goes on and on and on to the Ashanti region. And that's why we're all concerned about what's happening. Doc, when you look at the regional distribution and the fact that 8 million in all are illiterates, what's the impact possibly on our education system and national development?
Thank you very much. If you really look at issues of literacy and numeracy, you understand that that is the basis of any educational system. So in most instances, policies are developed just to address the problems of literacy and numeracy at the early grade levels of students. So it's interesting that a lot of us in the country, that is 1 out of 4 people, seems or is illiterate. It means that the person cannot read or write in any language, and that is damning. I think that we have to have a second look at how we teach language in this country. I think we also have to look at our general language policy and the attention that we are giving to even comprehensive education, what we used to call the non-formal education, because these are avenues that we use to match up with those who have not been able to pick up the level of literacy that they need to get. Because if someone goes through, you see, the assumption is that if someone goes through primary school and the person enters junior high school and then finally ends in the senior high school, the assumption is that that person has got some level of literacy and numeracy skills. But in most instances, that is not the case. So the only way that we try to avert these discrepancies is the introduction of comprehensive education, where the person is taken through what we used to call the non-formal education system. But as we look at it now, you would notice that particular aspect of our educational system seems not to be so functional, and as a result of that, it will be difficult for us to even take a second look at how we'll be able to improve on the literacy. And this has a potential of affecting the overall education in the country, because you want people to be able to read and write. In terms of our development, if people cannot read and write, nothing can be done. Because you see, one, you would notice that if you have now we are doing, if you see something, say something from the national security, there are adverts that are being shown to sensitize people about various issues. If people cannot read and write about some of these things, it means that the end result of the reason why we are doing these things would never be achieved. And that is why, for me, I think that we need to have a strategy to address this high level of illiteracy in our society.
What policy options should the likes of the Education Ministry be considering?
I need to be frank with you. There are a lot of things that are being done in the literacy level. There are a lot of things, programs that are being introduced, and I'm still surprised that, because there are a lot of programs that are being run in the northern part of the country in terms of trying to improve literacy and numeracy. So if you look at the data, and it still shows that these programs, it seems that they are not achieving their targets, it becomes a little bit worrying to some of us. I think one we need to evaluate the programs and the policies that we have implemented to improve literacy. We need to evaluate and see which ones are working and which ones are not working, and then how we'll be able to adjust to ensure that we achieve the set objectives of that. Apart from that, I think that we need to now revisit the issue of non-formal education, comprehensive education in the sector. We need to make sure that we increase their budget allocation and then equip their instructors to be able to now offer some kind of literacy skills to the students that enroll. I think we also need to embark on more media campaigns about literacy. We need to ensure that we can use the various media platforms, what local, the traditional media, social media, whether through radio stations or through television stations. We need to design programs to meet the literacy aspirations of the country. I think these are various ways that we can adopt to ensure that we improve the level of literacy. And hopefully by the next time that we do this kind of exercise, we will see a reduction in the number. But
it's instructive to note that this is not just about the English language.
Yes, that is the point I'm making. It's about all the languages that is being spoken in Ghana. And if you do the kind of work that I do, and you walk through various schools and you go and you see the way that even those who are supposed to be masters of the language that they are supposed to use as a form of instruction are struggling to use it, then you would understand that we have a long way to go. And I think that when we adopt multiple measures using the media, improving on the non-formal education system, at the same time ensuring that teachers that teach various local languages are equipped adequately. At the same time, also evaluating the various language policies that we have in the country, will be able to at least reduce the number of literacy that have been recorded in the country by the Ghana Statistical Service.
Grateful, and thanks for spending time with us, Dr. Ante.